Another thing you want to look at is who is your target audience. Now, if you're building a solution and you're telling us it's meant for everyone around the world, you're really focusing simultaneously on nobody because it's so broad and you have to keep in mind so many constraints for every single audience. Instead, I'd advise you to focus. Focus on a particular customer segment. And there's really three that come to my mind: consumers, the industry, and non-governmental organizations. And by focusing on a specific customer segment, you will be better tuned to their needs. And what we've seen in the past is students have proposed a design that said, hey, this is focused on the general public, all consumers out there. In this case, the project was focusing on measuring pollution and air quality. Now, that's ordinarily fine, but when you get into the details, that type of solution now has to worry about, hey, if I'm out there in the streets roving around as an autonomous robot measuring air quality, what if I get stolen? What if I get stuck between a bump and a curb? What if I run out of battery power? Now, all of those questions are real questions that need to be answered, and they're actually very, very difficult to solve in the broad sense when you're focusing on all consumers. But what if we shifted the focus? What if we took a different approach, focused on maybe a different segment? In this case, our advice to the team would be focus maybe on industry. Now, in industry, you're dealing with a slightly different setup. In an industrial setup, you're going to be focused on matching or kind of being slightly below the cost expectation of the company. So in this case, you might take the same air quality monitoring system, talk to some corporations, understand their needs, tweak and customize the solution appropriately, and focus on a price point that's slightly below what they'd be willing to pay. Now, in doing so, you're actually pushing the burden of focusing on vandalism, power, and things like this onto the company. Now, the company's going to be very comfortable focusing on that because they control the environment. In the consumer idea, you have zero control of the environment. So those questions that come up are actually deal breakers. Now, one final thought on this is, if you're focusing on non-governmental organizations, you're really going to be worried a lot about how am I going to get my solution out there. Now, some teams come to us and say, hey, my solution is going to be distributed by the government. I don't need a sales and marketing strategy. Well, I'll leave you with this thought. When was the last time your government ever distributed handheld or embedded devices to its citizens? It's simply not feasible, and it's not something you should count on. So in closing, you really want to focus and understand your segments of your audience and your market.